Hi, this is Evelyn Lopez. Welcome to Sustainability in Your Ear, the Earth911.com podcast for the week of October 1st, 2018. We are recording at the lovely...
The Grand
Moonyard Recording Studio in Tacoma, Washington. This week, we have a really interesting interview with Robert Lee of Rescuing Leftover Cuisine. So we're going to focus on food and food waste. And of course, we will answer your Earthling questions. So welcome, Mitch. I see you across the table from me in our lovely studio. How are you today?
It's an avatar.
It's an avatar. Okay.
I'm doing well.
You're not really here.
It's a beautiful fall afternoon, and we're going to have a great show today. So I'm excited.
That's good. Did you waste any food this morning?
No, I eat so little that it doesn't
even measure up.
Wasted.
Okay. All right.
But I was confused by, once again, the recycling instructions at the Starbucks. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. So we're also joined today by two of our writers, Trey Granger and Sarah Lozanova. Trey, how are you today?
I am lovely. How are you, Evelyn?
I'm very good. And how are things in Arizona, where I assume you are today?
They are warm, but not too bad.
Oh, that sounds great. So did you waste any food this morning?
I did not.
Ooh.
I made sure I ate everything I made.
Good job. And Sarah, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Evelyn.
Great. And are you also in Maine today, as usual?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. And how are things in Maine? Things
are good. I actually had a little power outage last night due to a thunderstorm that we had.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting.
Heavy rain from is it post Florence or is it just different rain?
I'm not sure. We had another storm a couple of days ago that was more intense. And so I was a little surprised that we lost power for several hours.
So how did your food usage go today? Did your kids eat all their breakfast?
Yeah, they did. And I don't think I lost any food in the fridge from the power outage.
Oh, yeah. That's always a difficulty. Good.
The ice cream might not be in
ice cream might be a little
condition.
Yeah, it might be a little melty. Yeah, I had quesadilla this morning, and I have to admit that I did scrape off moldy bits of cheese. And
I'm not sure that's a bad thing.
No, I think it's a good thing, but I did sort of pause thinking, can I do anything with moldy bits of cheese? But I think it just goes in the compost.
I like where you're going with these. You're thinking these days.
All right.
I really like that.
All right. Well, one of the things we're going to talk about today, we'll talk about it in a little bit, is a clip that Trey shared with us of John Oliver on Last Week Tonight from July 19th, 2015. I don't know if we can put it up on our website. If we can.
We'll link to it.
We'll take a link to it. But it's at YouTube. If you want to search for Last Week Tonight, July 19th, 2015, John Oliver Food Waste. And we'll be talking about that because it gives a nice overview of some of the problems. But before we get into talking about our food waste stories, let's talk a little bit about surveys. Surveys. So we always do some surveys on the Earth911.com website. And this last week, our survey was, would you consider paying a recycling specialist to help you recycle better and haul your recyclables?
So this is an interesting one. Generally, our audience splits pretty clearly, 90-10 on a lot of our issues. But here, Earthlings responded, yes, I'd pay for somebody to come help me become a better recycler and to take the recycling away at 59%. And 41% said no. So I think there's an interesting difference between our sense of commitment and our willingness to pay that we have to look at. But I also believe we did an interview with Bernie Lee from ISRI a couple of weeks ago about the value of recycling work. And one of the points he made is that it's largely hidden. It's hidden in trash processing fees. And as we really address recycling separately from trash, that it's going to be clear what we're paying for recycling versus trash collection. And that's where I think the moment will come when we'll say, wow, the same 90-10 rates, I do want to pay for that kind of service because it's no longer costing me for the trash and it's a more efficient use of my money and I'll get a better recycled output. And, ultimately the question was designed to see whether or not people are willing to pay their part in the circular economy because they're working already pretty hard to clean up their recyclables, but to make sure that those recyclables get from their curbside to a specialized recycler versus remixed and messed up the way that the current single stream system works, is something that we're going to be talking about, maybe 2 years from now, but it's probably going to come.
Yeah, I actually think that the question that you might have gotten a different percentage on would be if you had said something like, would you be willing to pay an additional fee on your garbage bill for some extra specialized recycling services? Because I think many people would say, yeah, I'm all for that.
Or the extra specialized recycling service would reduce your trash bill, and ultimately there would be no change in your bill, but
that
you'd
would
be
be
getting a
great.
different service.
Yeah, that would be great.
And that's kind of, we'll be talking with Robert Lee on the food challenge in a few minutes. His site is built on this volunteer system that people sign up and just do a few hours of work. And, that may be the way we solve our problems with recycling, because there are a lot of people, our audience, are sustainability and recycling enthusiasts who can spread the word by actually getting out there and helping people.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay, well, this week's survey is how confident are you in your recycling knowledge?
Well, as my experience at Starbucks once again proves, because it's never clear what paper they're talking about and all that, I'm not confident in my recycling experience or knowledge. And that's one of the reasons I actually would probably prefer to have somebody help me and get better at it.
Yeah, I would actually pay someone to come to my house and help me go through and understand what
Just to
different
get
products
better.
have. Yeah, I mean, it would only be a one-time thing, probably. Yep. Now, someone who would haul it all away, that might be great. A business, definitely, I think, should be interested in that kind of service. All right, well, on to our interview then.
So we're going to be talking with Robert Lee, who created rescuingleftovercuisine.org, and it started in New York City and spread to 16 cities so far. So let's take it to Robert. Hey, welcome back to Sustainability in Your Ear. This is our regular interview segment. We're talking with Robert Lee, who's co-founder and chief executive officer of rescuingleftovercuisine.org, which is a New York-based program that is currently engaged in essentially a race to raise some money. Welcome to the show, Robert. Tell us about Leftover Cuisine, or rescuingleftovercuisine.org, and how you got involved.
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks for having me. I got involved with Rescuing Their Cuisine actually quite a while ago. I think, like almost 9 years ago.
Wow.
Was when I first kind of heard about food rescue as a concept. And then after working on a club for about 4 years during university, decided to start an organization that kind of drew on those learnings. And that's how Rescuing Their Cuisine came to be.
Now, while you were at NYU, you were a Gates Millennium Scholar. I haven't met many Gates Millennium Scholars. What does that mean?
Essentially, it's a Bill Gates-run program through the Gates Foundation that supplies full scholarships to basically first-generation students that can't pay their way through a place like NYU. So I was lucky enough to be part of that program. And, even attend NYU Student School of Business. But yeah, that was actually at NYU was where I learned about food rescue as a concept. Before then, I had always, thought and believed, as many people do, that food donation is illegal and, completely not okay to do. But, college was where I completely learned the opposite.
And it sounds like college students today are generally coming out of school with this insight that there are
That's right.
These solutions are all possible. It's simply that we haven't had the social mores that allow this kind of giving or sharing.
Exactly.
So now, what are you trying to accomplish? I know you have an event on at Carnegie Hall to raise some money, but you're also raising money as part of a contest to earn even more contributions toward the organization. Tell us about that.
That's right. Yeah. The way our organization works, obviously, it's a volunteer-run organization, and it's all kind of through this web application, Code on Ruby on Rails, that actually allows for volunteers to sign up online and do pickups on their own and stuff. And we're looking to continue to expand and grow because the concept is so scalable, because we're not looking to, get these huge trucks or get these, large vehicles to transport food from one place to another. We're just looking to expand the technology and bring it to other cities. Because right now we got started here in New York, but we're actually now having impact in over 16 cities across the nation. And, to keep up that growth and to keep up that momentum, we're looking to obviously raise some funds to bring on more people that can help bring on more food donor partners that, unfortunately still don't know that food donation is perfectly legal, but also encouraged by the government through, the IRS with enhanced tax deductions, where companies can actually get money back for donating food. So it could be a win-win-win for everyone, and we need people on our team that can, bring on those food donor partners. So to A, expand our technology, and B, expand our team and our infrastructure, we're basically competing in this challenge, this crowdfunding challenge called the End Hunger Together Challenge, done by CrowdRise. And it's a pretty fun little thing. You can go on to basically our site, which is, let's see here, crowdrise.com/endhungertogether. And ours obviously is the Rescuing Our Cuisine one there. But yeah, it's a super fun little campaign for the next 3 weeks until October 16th. And so far we raised about $2,200 or so. And then beyond that, this year is actually our 5th year anniversary. So it's kind of crazy to think because, I actually graduated college in 2013 and then worked at JP Morgan Asset Management for a little bit before working on this full time. But we're already at our 5-year mark, and it's remarkable how much we've grown and how much impact we've made. We now rescued over 2.5 million pounds of food, or fed over 2 million meals for the food insecure, and diverted 300 tons of carbon emissions from landfill. So
that's just great.
Lots of great impact here. But at the 5-year mark now that we're here, we're doing a little bit of a larger event than we normally do. And on October 27th, one of our close friends and longtime supporters and his mother are actually doing a piano concert recital at Carnegie Hall. So we've raised so far $97,000 of a 100K goal, which means we're definitely going to be hopefully blowing past that number soon. And so our new goal will likely be probably shooting for the stars, $150,000 for our goal. But yeah, so far so good. Really excited about the momentum and growth here. Lots of exciting new campaigns that we're hoping to do in 2019 as well, and growing some campaigns that we've done in the past. For example, RLC Restaurant Week, where we ask our supporters to eat at restaurants that are actually donating their excess food and doing something about food waste, because we want to have consumers show that we care about this issue about where their excess food is going, and restaurants are not going to join a program like Rescuing Our Cuisine until they know that their consumers also care and will eat and choose to eat at restaurants that only that do something about it.
So, Robert, let me ask you some questions about the program.
Sure.
How many cities do you have the Rescuing Leftover Cuisine in?
Currently 16.
Okay. And if I wanted to volunteer, what would that look like? What would I actually be doing?
Yeah, it's super easy. To actually start off as a volunteer, you can begin by going to our website at rescuingleftovercuisine.org. And there's a volunteer tab where you can essentially learn about volunteering, what that entails, watch a video about some people volunteering. And then there's a calendar where you can actually search your location and choose whatever time slot or location you want and sign up directly online. So everything is pretty automated, where you can get the confirmation emails of where to go, who to meet via email, and you can call that person that you're going to meet and give them a heads up that you're heading over there.
Okay.
But you can literally do everything day of and super easily.
Great. So is this something, have you sort of been reaching out to other universities and schools to see if, because it seems like it's the type of a volunteer opportunity that has a nice kind of low entry bar.
Definitely. I mean, in some cases, sometimes it's too too easy to jump in and out. But we wanted to make it really accessible for people to contribute if they want to. And I think in a lot of cases when you try and volunteer, sometimes it's a little onerous where you have to either set aside your whole Saturday or weekend, and then go jump through a lot of hoops and attend orientations like that, things like that. And we wanted to basically allow people to really make an impact as fast as they want, really. And you can sign up for an event tonight, and go and rescue some food, and you can literally see it about to go to the garbage. And you can literally bring it to a homeless shelter where you see the line of people outside that are going to eat that food right there and right that night. So, it's a super low barriers entry event, and a very impactful way to see what your time is actually.
Oh, that's great. So at the 5-year mark, looking back, is there something that you wish you'd known at the beginning or something you might have done differently?
Oh, God, there's so many.
Okay.
I think, I think number one is probably just, I think this is a common mistake for people that are, really passionate about what they're doing. I think for me personally, I struggled with letting go of doing the pickups all the time myself, and moving more to a role where I was bringing on new growth and bringing on new partners and new volunteers and that kind of thing, and then moving on beyond that now to a fundraising role to help support that even further, and then now managing a team of people that bring on the volunteers and bring on the partners and things like that. So as time has progressed, I think I definitely could have done that sooner if I had that mindset of it's not just my backyard, it's not just New York City, not just this neighborhood. It's really there's a demand for this all around the country. We still get applications and volunteers looking to volunteer. I'm sure some of the listeners might go to our website and realize that there's not a branch in their area, and we are always open to people, reaching out to us and creating a branch, because honestly, that's how I started. Just a passionate, person looking to try and make an impact in the community. And, all of our 16 cities that we're in were started by branch leaders that were basically the same way. So
anybody can jump in and just start this.
That's right. We provide the guidance and help and along the way, and, any tips that we've kind of accumulated over the past 5 years, we pass on. Allow people to, use our resources like our technology and, things like that.
Well, that's a question I wanted to ask. Technology is going to help us deal with a lot of our problems. And in this case, the ability to do ad hoc organization through a tool like this. How'd you get the tool funded? Did you build this as a speculative undertaking in order to see if people would do it? Or did you launch this as a project with funding?
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny, because when we first got started at NYU with Rescuing the Cuisine, we pitched the idea as a hybrid organization with like a for-profit component and a nonprofit component. And we thought we knew what we were doing, and it turned out we had absolutely no idea what we were doing. And so we realized quickly then that it didn't matter what we thought. It mattered more really what people wanted to use and do. So it was very much a quickly, a small version of what we're doing and seeing if people would use it, and then quickly expanding on that. Because otherwise, there was some cases where we created a tool for our food donor partners, and a lot of them did not even use it. So we ended up using, more of our resources on the volunteer side and growing that more, because the food donor side, it was much easier to just automate, even to the point of not even using technology, where we can say, hey, we'll be there every single night at this time. You don't even have to tell us, we'll just be there. You just have to prepare the food for us, package it, put it there on your counter, and we'll be there. So, in a lot of cases, even if we created the technology where they could push a button to tell us, it would be a waste. So very much an iterative process.
That's great. So learning on the fly is the way that we solve our problems these days. Robert, how do people, tell us where people can go to get involved right now?
Yeah, number one way is through our website, rescuinglifecuisine.org. On the very homepage, you'll see our tickets to our Carnegie event. And then as you explore the site, you can volunteer, you can donate, you can help us out on the End Hunger Together Challenge. But always remember, I mean, every single little tiny bit helps. We got started here in New York City because, existing organizations had minimum power requirements where they used large trucks and they just would not go buy for food donations below 100 pounds of food. And we decided that, even 50 pounds of food, even, 15 pounds of food can feed a large amount of people. Actually, like 15 pounds can feed 10 people. To us, all of that mattered. And same thing happens for donations. I mean, a $10, $15 donation doesn't sound like a lot. But for us, we're really built on the crowdsource, the smaller actions that build up to a huge, huge amount. So always keep that in mind, and feel free to sign up for our newsletter to keep updated.
Well, Robert, thank you very much for joining us on Sustainability in a Year. I hope you come back and tell us how it worked out and tell us about your next project. So, folks, please visit rescuingleftovercuisine.org. Robert, thanks very much.
And also, I'll say, don't forget, there is this wonderful recital at Carnegie Hall on October 27th.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Robert. Great. Well, that was really interesting. And I think, again, that recital in Carnegie Hall, that should be a really good event. So next up, we have our stories from our Earth911.com website. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about that John Oliver video. I think we all watched it, and some of the stats that came out of it I thought were really significant.
Yeah, and one of the things that's probably most significant about it is that even though that's a 2015 program, a lot of the data is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's been really consistent, hasn't it? So we're
not making improvements.
No, and what we're talking about is 40% of all of the food produced in the U.S. never gets eaten. I mean, that's almost half of everything that's made and grown doesn't get eaten.
It's actually a little higher than that. As we've gone further down the path, we waste even more food.
Amazing. And the difficulty, I think, with that is that so many people, almost 50 million people in our country, live in food insecure households, which means, at some point in the year, they're not sure if they can put food on the table for themselves and their kids.
Even though we're throwing away $165 billion or more dollars worth of food, which is astonishing.
Yeah. And then add to that, the waste issue, that the food, you may think it's biodegradable, but because of the way our landfills work, it really isn't. In fact, it just breaks down into methane.
And the other thing is that the wet recycled, the wet compost stuff that we pick up being all mixed up, meat and other things that are vegetative makes it impossible to really compost all of that in the first place. So that's what leads to the methane as compared to a good compostable result. And again, this goes back to what we do with our recycling and our food at the end of our use of it. First off, we buy way too much of it.
Right.
Should say that. But if we had a system where you took your, maybe like we do, compost, and put your organics in that and separated out the meats, then we would be consistent about our own home composting, and the business that picks up your stuff could also be better about treating it appropriately.
Yeah.
But because we don't think about the people who could be using this stuff, we think about it as waste instead of useful nutrition.
Right.
That's the missing link, I think, in the way we look at our food supply.
I think so. So we have a number of stories on our Earth911.com website that talk about different issues of food waste, and I thought we'd talk about several of them. The first one is about how your city handles food waste. And Sarah, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so there was an interesting study that was conducted by Save on Energy, and they examined which of the top 25 most populated cities in the U.S. have mandated food waste reduction programs. And it actually turns out it's surprisingly few. Only, at the time that this was released, only 9 of them actually had food waste reduction programs in place. And what's interesting is in the study, they create a map And all of the cities, with the exception of Austin, Texas, are in the Northeast or on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the programs are centered around composting,
Yeah.
mandated composting programs. And many of them involve commercial food producers or restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think Austin and Dallas are two big leaders in investment and sustainability? Why do you think they went the different direction? Austin has the mandatory program and Dallas has voluntary. Is that simply a characteristic of the locality, or are they taking really distinct paths and that justify different approaches to mandated programs?
Yeah, the city of Austin actually voted unanimously for a city ordinance that requires all large restaurants, to separate compost by 2016, and then smaller ones by 2017. So it might just be a cultural difference where there's more emphasis being placed on this issue.
Well, definitely the hill countries in Texas are a lot more active about this. They tended to be a little more liberal in the past, and I think that carries over. You know, it's interesting. Dallas is, we're working on another story about mandated versus voluntary programs, and Dallas is way behind in its goals for starting to reduce apartment waste. They've only achieved 10% of their goals, even though they wanted to be at 100% by 2020. Yet Austin apparently is doing a much better job because it's mandated that they force people into it, or rather they all opted in. That's an interesting change. Now, you're up in the Northeast. There are several of these. Are you seeing any more activism in Maine and New England around adding this kind of program?
Not that I'm aware of, and the programs that I think you're referring to are in Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. So I'm a little bit removed from that sphere of influence. But there are some local programs around food waste. They aren't mandated programs, but in my town, there's quite a few programs that help support the local food kitchen, and there's farm programs that donate food to the food pantry and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you had another story called Food Rescue Program Fights Food Waste Intelligently. That's for you folks listening at home if you want to type it out, but it's at Food Waste Food for Free is the slug on the article. Tell us about that. That's a different approach, but one that is much more attuned to what, for instance, saving the cuisine is about as well.
Yeah, so this article highlighted an initiative that's going on by an organization called Food for Free. Mm-hmm. And what's exciting about their approach is they were really looking at food waste in cafeterias, corporate cafeterias and universities. And a lot of this food is healthy. It's not past, it's safe to consume, yet at the end of the day, it was getting thrown out. And so they created a system where this food could be put into bags and then distributed through homeless shelters or school programs, with people that were food insecure. But one of the things that is so inspiring about it is they're also healthy foods, with fruits and vegetables and things like that. So it also supported the organization's belief in really distributing healthy foods and kind of the addressing the obesity epidemic as well.
One of the things I thought was interesting, in the John Oliver bit that we looked at, he focused a little bit on restaurants getting tax incentives in order to go out and redistribute their unused food. But what I see far more of are these smaller, sometimes not so small, but not-for-profits that are starting up to try to get out into the communities and pick up the food and redistribute it to, as Sarah said, to your homeless shelters or to food pantries and things like that.
Well, and so there are big national programs like Feeding America, which are doing a great job of getting chains involved. And but I think, like Robert in the interview and what Sarah's talking about, are much more important at a local level, which are, you'd almost call them ad hoc food sharing networks, ones that aren't necessarily fixed, but because people can step in and if there is waste one day and not the next, it isn't a crisis for the entire system. So the distributed model is, I think, the way we start to solve this problem at the interpersonal level.
Yeah. I think it's really
Another
interesting.
interesting trend, I spoke with the executive director a couple of years ago, and she said that when these cafeterias were getting involved, at first they had far larger quantities of donations, and that it actually tapered down over time because they were also becoming a lot more aware of how much surplus food was being prepared. So in some ways, too, they to a small extent, they're almost putting themselves out of business because then they're helping to draw attention to the surplus food, and then less food is actually prepared.
It's interesting. I'm a former Microsoft employee, and when I was there 5-6 years ago, the food helpings were massive, and I just happened to have eaten at one of the cafeterias last week with a friend, and the portions are much smaller now.
Oh, that's smart.
And there are a lot fewer people suffering from what we called the Microsoft spread, the 50 pounds you put on when you started working at Microsoft, because you sit in your chair and they bring you food.
Right.
But your point, Sarah, is well taken, and that is that just by beginning to do this, these restaurants and cafeterias start lowering their food costs and their food waste overall, which has a secondary benefit for people who need the food, which is that there is more supply and theoretically could be a lower price. Also, they don't get leftovers.
Right.
But we still need that active program at the edge of the food chain that gets the food from people who do have it to people who don't.
Yeah. Well, I think just it's sort of encouraging people to think of your food and uneaten food as a commodity is very helpful. Well, so these are really good stories, Sarah. Very helpful in sort of looking at how food is being dealt with. But let's suppose you wanted to start your own assessment of what your food waste profile, your food waste footprint looks like. Trey, why don't you tell us about, the stories you've been doing on, a home waste audit. You've audited, and it's on our website right now. You've audited your waste. Now what? And particularly with regard to food, what did you find, Trey, and how can people look at their food waste and do an assessment?
So, it was a 2-part series that I wrote when I conducted my own waste audit. And I talked a little bit on our last podcast about part 1. There were 150 items that I had accumulated over a week, which is probably less than the average household. I tend to consume most of what I buy and don't waste a lot. But 77 of those could go in the recycling bin, and the rest, a lot of it was food waste. I mean, it's a situation where I actually make a conscious choice, because I'm so aware of food waste, to buy more frozen food and fruits and vegetables, knowing that I won't have to worry about peeling it. I won't have to worry about any sort of cores going in the garbage, and it will also last longer. So unfortunately, the trade-off is that you have to get rid of that packaging in the garbage. But to me, that's a trade-off I will make in order to have less food waste produced.
And so what is some of the, what type of food waste did you encounter, given that you are pretty careful about this? But what were areas that you thought, oh, okay, I need to figure out what to do about that?
Yeah, there were definitely some that I do buy fresh. I buy tomatoes and onions and things that I put in salads. I'll usually make those fresh purchases. And as a result, anytime you're peeling those items, I would just throw the remains. Instead of putting them on the garbage disposal, I put them in the garbage. But in general, it's try to get as much of it not developing into food waste as possible.
And so I'm curious, were you putting them in the garbage because of your waste audit, or do you normally put them in the garbage rather than the garbage disposal? No,
I always put them in the garbage. I'm kind of fearful about putting in the garbage disposal because that tends to make them go out quicker. And I'm always trying to be conscious about trade-offs of the environment. Is it better for me to have a garbage disposal go out sooner and then have to be replaced and recycled than put some minor food waste in a landfill? Unfortunately, I don't compost at home. I know I should. I'm just not much of a gardener. So there's nowhere I would be able to put the material. But I definitely recommend people. There's a lot of great content on Earth911 about starting your own compost program. it's a great way to divert that food waste.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting new compost technologies that I've seen. Some things on Kickstarter that are showing up that use a barrel with water, and so you don't get a hard compost; you get liquid compost
your
tea.
Compost tea, yeah.
And these things are basically on automatic, which makes them really interesting. But what I hear you saying, Trey, is that pre-cycling is really where you have most of your success, because as you looked at your food or your waste audit, you described a number of things that you realized you could spend less on too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I try to target the outer areas of the supermarket when I shop, because those tend to have more recyclable packaging in my experience, and probably everyone's cities will differ. But it's all about, for me, knowing what goes in my bin and what I have to throw away. And I might pay a little more to buy a product that is recyclable versus not.
And not necessarily 16 candy bars next time?
Are you waste shaming, Mitch? Are you waste shaming?
No, I'm sugar shaming.
Hey, Halloween is coming up. I got to buy it for the kids. Come on now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Halloween is very dangerous. So one other thing, Trey, in my neighborhood in Tacoma, our yard waste, so our garbage is 1 week it's your regular garbage and recycling, and the next week it's 2 yard waste bins. And you are encouraged, they give us all these little containers to put our food waste in the kitchen and dump them into our yard waste bin. So your yard waste is supposed to contain your food waste also. But I haven't really done that. And it's a combination of, I don't have a really good place to put the food waste container in my kitchen. So I haven't figured that out. And then we had such a hot summer, I was a little bit unsure if I wanted I'm okay with vegetation, but I didn't want to put, steak fat and things like that out in the food waste or in the yard waste bin for 2 weeks when it was really, really hot. So, cities are trying, but then you've got some consumer acceptance issues too, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's all about what our preferences are, and the fact that our preferences are based on a set of expectations that no longer hold.
Yeah. But I'll tell you,
and food waste collection in general is a very new concept for cities. When Sarah was talking about that map earlier of cities, I lived in San Francisco until 2007, and there was no food waste collection. There was yard waste, but within the last 10 years, we've definitely seen that increase in food waste acceptance.
Yeah.
Well, and just awareness, let alone acceptance. I don't think people have really grokked the fullness, to use a Heinlein phrase, of how much we waste. And how frequently we waste it simply because something is not perfect looking. Because this is what a lot of, half of the food that is wasted at the farm because they think they won't be able to sell it at a premium price. It's got a blemish, it's got a bruise.
Right.
And that's a lot of the food that we should be directing right into the food relief programs, because it has been grown. And we could set up a tax program or an incentive program for those farmers to do that.
Yeah.
So the way that a community-supported agriculture system works could be modified to include a food support system that was offset by some sort of government support.
Yeah. There's that new kind of food delivery service called Imperfect Produce that says that they are going out to the farms, gleaning all the imperfect produce and then providing it like a CSA box every other week to homes.
And I think, so the CSA model is probably what we'll see evolve. But it's going to be a model that includes not simply the agricultural, but the food volume management.
Yeah.
Right. So that, healthier portions, but then portions that are being set aside for use by people who would not otherwise have access to it.
Yeah. Well, I know some communities too have gleaning programs where people will come around and pick your apples off the tree or your pears off the tree and then take them to the food bank. So that's a positive. But again, all of these things, even though I live in a place where there's a lot of that going on, I still see a lot of apple trees with, apples on the ground. So it's always a process of encouraging.
My pear tree produced exactly 1 pear this year.
Really?
But otherwise, I would be sending some for donation.
You can't eat all those pears.
Perfect pear.
Huh.
I don't know why.
Wow. I'm going to take a picture of it. So our next story is 5 easy tricks to reduce food waste. And the thought process here was like, okay, you sort of know what resources are available in your community. Maybe you've started some composting, which is excellent. You've audited your waste, so you know what you've got. Now, how can you reduce food waste? And there are quite a few really good tips in this article. It's on our website if you want to take a look at it. And here are a few of them. So the first one, I thought this was really excellent, is label a shelf in your refrigerator, eat me first. So set aside one of your drawers, label your eat me first, and make sure you put the things in there that are going to be expiring or wilting in the near future. And then, really encourage your family members to go to that drawer and use them up. And it would be helpful to me because then if I'm cooking dinner, I sort of know which groceries do I need to make use of first.
And this is actually something that we do at my house. Surprisingly enough, this is one of our more advanced, forward-thinking things. We have an Eat Me First drawer. But you know what the problem is? That the drawer is deep enough that things get pushed back.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you have to sort of curate your Eat Me First drawer, too.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
Well, and sometimes there's something in there like sort of an unhappy-looking zucchini that probably you just don't want to eat.
Yeah, well, that's
keep
why
passing
you
it
need,
by.
that's curation.
I see, okay.
You pick out the rotting zucchini.
Yeah. So the second tip is also good, and it's freeze it. And this is one where the author says, if you're getting near the expiration date, especially on something like yogurt, instead of just sort of deciding that you've got to eat yogurt for the next 3 meals, take the yogurt out of the fridge, pop it into ice cube trays, and freeze it, and then keep it in a bag in your freezer, and you've got really great ingredients for smoothies if you're a smoothie maker.
Well, and the other interesting one was extra pasta sauce freezes. So if you've used half a jar and you're going to not make spaghetti for a while, toss the other one in the freezer and it'll be good.
Yeah, I thought that was a really great idea.
I never really thought about freezing opened jarred food before.
I never would think of that. No. Leftover fruit, she says she cuts it up and freezes it on cookie sheets. And when I say she, I should give credit to the author. The author is a Madeline Somerville, and this was on our website September 13th, 2018, was updated from a story from 2016. And the next tip also I love, and that is soup for you. Save all of your bits, and you can make a soup broth from all your vegetable, carrot tops, celery stalks, onion pieces, tomato bits, just about anything you have left over.
I like to make a curry soup.
Really?
Yeah, with onions, carrots, potatoes. It comes out very nicely.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah.
So
it
if
doesn't
you're
require meat stock.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it just you just cook the soup all together. You don't have to worry about a stock. So if you are making a stock, it's really easy. It's basically just a large pot of water, throw all your bits in, and simmer it for 2 to 3 hours, and you're going to end up with a really great smooth stock. It's a soup stock.
It's a soup stock for a smooth soup.
For a smooth soup. The other idea was the smoothies that we mentioned. And then there's also an app. Have you looked at this app? I haven't looked at this app.
Olio is, which by the way is the Italian word for oil, is a food sharing app, and it's pretty cool. So it is a local Craigslist-like way of advertising that you have some food available. Now that doesn't mean after dinner necessarily. It also could be you're growing a lot of bok choy, which is one of the examples here in the screenshot, and you've got too much produce. So find somebody locally who would like some of it.
Yeah.
That happens a lot also on Nextdoor. So it isn't necessary to go get the Olio app to do it. But if you watch Nextdoor or use Olio, and I'm sure there's some other options, there are a lot of ways to start sharing the excess you have locally.
Oh, that's a great idea.
But, like we were talking about with Robert earlier, these tools, what they do will allow us to be more efficient by tracking things better, and because we're going to be able to look at the data about how food is managed at greater detail over the course of the next 20 years.
And I would also, just on the topic of sharing, if you go out to dinner at a restaurant, if you know you don't have a big appetite, restaurants in America tend to produce larger portions of food.
Yeah.
So share with the person you're with, and it'll really reduce the amount you have to take home or the restaurant has to throw away.
Right.
Yeah.
But the combination of technology allowing us to do that kind of stuff, which includes even, the meal apps that we use to track our calories, can start to give us sustainability feedback too. All of this data is something that we'll be able to use to better think about all of our food processes. And that's something that just didn't exist even 5 years ago.
Right.
So I think that's the kind of thinking that Trey just interjected with as well is think more about sharing, think more about splitting your huge portions. My wife and I have stopped ordering 2 breakfasts when we go to our favorite breakfast place and just share one.
Yeah.
It's plenty of food for 2 people, and we don't leave anything.
Right. That's really great. One of the little markets, actually it's about in between where you live and where I live, it's H&L Produce.
Yeah.
You know that? They have a shelf outdoor where they put their almost dead, it's their last chance shelf. And I started setting myself a challenge of going and finding things there that I can buy up and make into something. So I've been making my own tomato sauce and making my own roasted peppers and things like that. And I love that. And I talked to the market manager this summer, and she said it's really a boon for especially a lot of the immigrant communities will come there and really stock up on the last chance produce because it's 50 cents a pound, no matter what it is.
And compared to the produce expectations they have as first generation Americans, even better than they could have gotten.
Even better. Well, and actually it's riper than most of the produce that looks so shiny and bright because it is.
That's the other source of food waste from produce is the stuff that you buy when it is not near ripe.
Right. Peaches
is a perfect example of this.
Right.
I love peaches, but you can never find one that's actually just normally ripe. It's always been frozen somewhere along, or at least cooled, and it's hard.
Yeah. So
then you put out 6, 2 of them rot.
Right.
And that's food waste.
Right.
We need to think about that kind of thing too.
Absolutely. Well, Trey, anything else you wanted to add in?
One thing I definitely would point out, if you guys haven't read it yet, another great article on the site right now. It was published September 20th. The 5 ways to reduce waste at your child's next birthday party.
Oh,
really good.
Okay.
You tend to use a lot for kids when it comes to diapers and napkins and all this stuff. So a great way if you can reduce waste at kids' birthday parties. Really good article.
Oh, excellent. Good to know.
Well, and the first of our Earthling questions today is also one I want to toss to you, Trey, because it involves what I think might be a dangerous practice. So Bruce in Carrollton, Texas, wrote us on through feedback at Earth911.com, and this is what he had to say. Styrofoam egg cartons and other styrofoam products are a problem in landfills, I've read. I've seen online that styrofoam can be dissolved in acetone. Is it safe for landfills then? Trey, what do you think?
Safe is a curious word there. I definitely would not recommend dissolving styrofoam in acetone. I think there are some great ways to choose alternative products or reuse it. I think there hasn't really been a science that proves that it's safe for the environment to do this.
Well, and the other thing is that if it is in liquid acetone, you still have liquid acetone, which is a toxin in and of itself. And so you really haven't taken many steps towards convenient recycling or safe landfilling. You simply moved the ball into somebody else's.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I completely appreciate Bruce thinking this through and thinking, the bulk of the styrofoam is the problem. So if I dissolve it, does that take care of the problem? And it's like, in some ways it sounds like it should, but what you're probably doing is actually making a really hazardous material.
Well, that's one of the things that we looked up when we got the question was, what do you get?
Yeah.
And it actually is an unstable element, or an unstable chemical.
Yeah.
And so because acetone in and of itself can ignite.
Yeah.
And so putting them together actually appeared to off-gas some things that you wouldn't want to breathe.
Oh, man. So, Bruce, don't do this.
Yeah, please, Bruce. We appreciate the question. The landfill is hopefully the final option for those products, but even styrofoam egg cartons could be donated to a craft store where they'll be reused. So think about some of those options instead.
Well, and if you know someone who has some hens at home, then they're usually, I give all of my egg cartons to a friend who has chickens because she can always use those then she gives eggs to her friends and works fine.
You might get eggs back.
I wish.
In the sharing economy.
I know. Maybe get a little egg back.
Okay, so let's go on to the next one before we get bitter about the eggs.
Okay.
All right. So second question from the Earthlings this week is it's actually a multi-person question. And it follows up on our pizza box mystery article, which Trey authored about how to recycle pizza boxes, which, of course, are contaminated with grease. So the question is, should pizza be delivered in a reusable container, and are there any options? And in fact, there are a few options for reusable pizza containers. We'll get to those in just a second. The problem is that it means a cost for the delivery company or a pickup program, right, that would require them to come back and get the box at some point later. Either one of which may be a reasonable solution. We just don't know yet. But the other way to think about this is, are there ways for me to pick up a pizza in a box I hold?
Oh.
Instead of thinking of it purely as delivery. But if you're going to order a pizza these days, you should bring your own box. And so there's three that we found that we thought were interesting options. One's an Indiegogo project called Good News Reuse Reusable Pizza Box. That's Good News Reuse Reusable Pizza Box. And then there are a couple of actual products out there made by commercial ventures. One is dmsinnovation.com, and it's kind of an aluminum flying saucer that goes around your pizza and does both keeping it warm and protecting it like the box is designed to. And then finally, Greenbox NY, greenboxnewyork.com, is a maker of a reusable pizza delivery box, and their intent is for pizza delivery companies to use this. But again, I still don't know exactly how you get that box back for reuse unless somebody brings it in.
What I think is, that when they come to the door, they have their pizza usually in an insulated carrier. And so if they gave to you, or you bought whatever in advance, I want a pizza tray.
Right.
I'm going to keep it in my house, and every time
We'll
I order
trade.
pizza, you bring the, insulated thing in, and we open it, and I take the pizza out of there, out of a tray on there, and put it onto my tray.
Well, except that box is made, that warmer box is made for the cardboard box. You could actually,
I know. There's gotta be some
just
way.
carry in the reusable box. You treat it like a deposit program, right? Your pizza's $5 more if you don't give us a box back.
Yeah, that's fair. And I hand you my empty box when you hand me the new box.
And so if we did that, we would be getting rid of one of the biggest sources of contamination in the waste stream.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And pizza is, and Trey, chime in if you would. Pizza boxes are just a ubiquitous problem in curbside programs, are they not?
Yeah, there's just not a lot of consistency over which cities accept them, which don't. So it's up to consumers to kind of determine that, and it's definitely a point of confusion.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, and I've had this conversation with people, they say, well, I'll recycle my pizza box, but I tear the greasy parts off.
Yeah.
And other people don't tear the greasy parts off.
Right.
So there's just a bunch of different variables, like Trey said, that we don't have a standard system. But a standard system can be introduced on a model like we were describing, trade your box.
Yeah. Well, I keep thinking that some of these things would be market attractive, that you could advertise saying, we're the only place that has a, reusable pizza box.
And I believe in a few years, that's the kind of thing people will respond to strongly. Right now, it's a novelty. We're talking about it as though, could it happen?
Right.
The question is, who's going to make it happen?
Interesting. Well, anything else for our program today, Mitch?
It's we've had a lot of interesting stuff on Earth911. We talked about a number of them here. But I'd also, there's a new interview up on the site about a compostable faucet water filter made by a company in the UK called Tap Water. And so, when you replace your filters in a Brita or a Culligan today, there's plastic in that that doesn't break down. Their cartridges are completely compostable. So they'll break down in an industrial compost pile in a few weeks. They've even tested them in flower pots, and they'll start to break down. They're slower because, of course, flower pots don't get hot. And then the body of the faucet thing that screws on is about 76% recyclable at this point. So there's some really interesting elements to a product that is designed to fall apart when you don't need it anymore. But they also have some cool stuff about, like a Bluetooth version that measures the water you're using. So it helps you keep hydrated, helps you understand how much you're saving and how many bottles of water you're not throwing away. So again, data making us more aware, and a product that is starting to be, completely responsible in terms of its end-to-end life.
Excellent. Excellent. Trey, anything else you want to cover before we end this week?
No, I think we got some great stuff on food waste today.
Okay. And I should note, Sarah had to step off and go pick up her kids from school. So that's it for us. Thanks, everyone. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, you can send us an email to feedback@earth911.com. And you can always find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and at our earth911.com website.
There's no shortage of places to find us.
You can
Please
find us
look.
anywhere. Yes. We'll see you next time.
Take care, folks.